I've talked before in a previous video about seeing if your paradigm fits reality, right? Seeing how much of reality that your current paradigm allows for. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video was to talk about adaptability and put that in relationship to what we're seeing in our current culture, in the current climate of what we're in. Right now, I think we're in that vice culture. We are in that extreme version of everything being permissible, right? For some people, this is simply overwhelming. This is too much to deal with, and so they are responding accordingly. They are either checking out of society, or they're going off to live in the woods somewhere, or they're just going off grid. They're not online just because it's too much, and that's again perfectly reasonable. But I think for the majority of us, if you're watching this video, you're online. So I think for the majority of us who maybe we don't agree, or whatever that even means, we're not in alignment, I guess you could say, with the everything goes, right? With where the current society is at. I think what we're going to see for the common person is almost everyone has some type of exploration that they end up doing in life. 99% of people have at least a little bit of exploration that they end up doing in life. I think for the majority of people who have done a little bit, or who have done quite a bit of exploration within this sphere of everything being permissible, I think we're going to begin to see that return to search for actual foundational truths of reality. Because if you're in a society that doesn't allow for some things, well then maybe truth is somewhere out there. Maybe truth is somewhere in the space that's not being allowed to be explored. Well, we're in a space right now where everything's permitted. If you want to go search for the truth out there, okay, go search for the truth. Well, as everyone begins to do this, our learning of that unknown space is going to continue to accelerate. And I think as the learning continues to accelerate in the unknown space, people will want to return to the foundational places of known space. Not just now that the unknown has become known, but out of all the known spaces now, to have actual foundational, to have places that you can return and then build from there. Because there are plenty of people who I know, you can have whatever worldview you want. But if you cannot function in a world that does not adhere to your worldview, it shows a lack of adaptability, right? And so, as people are allowed to think or believe whatever they want, that is completely fine. But a lot of paradigms, a lot of beliefs, don't make you adaptable unless people meet your needs for how you see the world. You have a hard time adapting. And those who are most adaptable are showing, at least to some extent, that they have a paradigm that is more foundational than the person who cannot adapt, okay? The person who can make sense of all the different things that are going on and still move forward, versus the person who maybe either breaks down or gets offended or just cannot handle the overwhelm. That person is not going to have as strong of a base to stand on. And so, as we're now exploring all the unknown territories of life, I think we're going to see a vast amount of people return to strong foundational desire for a participation in reality. Because one thing that you can also see too is some ideologies are way more mental than they are practical. And so people go out searching for how they can experience reality, not just what they believe to be true, but what they also want in their practice to be true. And so I think based off of these thoughts that I'm putting forth, I think we're going to be seeing people who want to return to both ideas that they believe to be true, and not just ideas, but then also practices that they see to be true. And again, what is true? Well, it goes back to how adaptable is your current paradigm. And I'm not saying this in an absolute sense. I'm saying this from a navigating the world sense. I think we're going to see a lot of people return to practical wisdom, to practical ways of life. I'm not saying all the highest degrees of truth are going to be agreed upon, but I think in terms of practicality, ways that a culture should live and behave, I think we will see a massive return to that. And I think in that, when you have a return to good practical ways of living, I think it's inevitable that society searches out then those higher truths and those things get discussed. But once that return happens, the practical is no longer being questioned, because all the unknowns, all the unknown practicalities have been explored, and a lot of them have proven to be self-destructive. They've been explored, no judgment's been cast. It's like, okay, let's all go out and try it. And then everyone does, and then we're like, well, there are better ways to either conduct one's own life or one's family or one's society. And so I think with that return, we will then see the exploration of those higher truths. And with that, I think a lot of good fruit will be coming. I don't know, 5, 10, I don't know if it's going to be that short, but 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years, I definitely think that we'll see that reversal begin to happen. And I think there's already signs of it showing, of people who are just maxed out on that unknown space, because now it's all familiar, and they're like, well, it's kind of stupid. So I'm not saying it's not like a want for a lot of people to go there, but if you live there and you stay out there, and then you're kind of just like, well, let's go back to something a little bit better. And I think it's just like, truly, in a very, very simple way, I think it's going to be the idea to want to return home, quite literally, in a lot of senses of home. I think it's going to be the realization that, hey, home's a little bit better. But also, for a lot of people too, home's going to need to be redefined. And not redefined in the sense of now being placed in that unknown space out there where it's been explored, but in the sense of returning. But now with the knowledge that's being gathered, you're maybe redefining a little bit previously of what you considered home, and say, okay, 80% of what I previously considered home was good. I'm going to add this 20% because now I've learned some new things, and I think these things are beneficial. But now I know what home is, and then can build up from there.